Hello and welcome to Film School Snobs, episode 11. I'm Alexander Speta,
And I'm Jalen Michael.
and yeah, welcome back, guys. We took a break last week because I went on vacation. I hope you guys enjoyed the video that we dropped, edited by Jalen Michael, who did a great job.
Thank you.
Yep. And so we take a vacation for 1 week, and they released all the movies. There's so many movies that came out that we have to talk about that we have to catch up on.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I actually want to talk about Marvel's Comic Con panel because we didn't get a chance to talk about that on the podcast last episode, and there's some really interesting things coming out. I remember I said in the Far From Home video that I was getting a bit of Marvel fatigue, and then like after seeing like all these releases they announced, I'm like maybe I have to reconsider that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what Marvel does. I personally, like, after Endgame, I was like, there's no way that they could possibly top this. And just seeing their Phase 4 slate, it's a lot of great stuff that I'm looking forward to,
Hmm.
at least.
So out of all of them, what would you say is your most anticipated movie?
Movie, probably Doctor Strange.
No, I
The
was I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. uh, well, it's the multiverse. What was it called again?
The Multiverse of Madness.
Madness. Yeah, that one. Because supposedly director Scott Derrickson and the writer Cargill, he was actually on the old school Spill podcast. They did
Hmm.
review, but they have horror roots from doing the Sinister movies and whatnot. So for them to bring that element into Doctor Strange, I think it's gonna fit well, and I'm really excited to see what they do with that.
Oh yeah, and they're even incorporating Scarlet Witch, and this is going to lead directly into WandaVision, which is still a stupid title.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that one has me the most intrigued because it's Marvel going out of their usual formula, doing something different and unique,
right.
and I'm really excited for it. Doctor Strange isn't one of my favorite Marvel movies, but it's one where like when I do watch it, I do see like they do try a bit with it. Like they try to make it a bit different with like the visuals and like the action sequences and stuff, and even the ending, which is great.
Yeah.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Best ways to beat a villain is to troll them.
Yeah, right.
So
Uh,
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Outside of Doctor Strange, my most anticipated is Shang-Chi, a character who I know nothing about.
Same. I'm I'm not too well versed on comics in general, but if you
Mm.
would ask me anything about Shang-Chi, I would just blank completely. So
Oh yeah.
other one I'm anticipating too.
Yeah. One thing that definitely has me intrigued is their lead. His name was Simu something. I forget his last name.
Hmm.
But like if I follow him on Twitter and this dude is just like really comedic.
Right.
And like years ago, like when the first Avengers came out, he was like, "Hey guys, this is great. Where's the Asian American superhero?" And then like now they just now cast him.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know too much on the actor, but I've seen him on the panel, and he just seems like a really humble, down to earth type of dude.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that's how he came off. So you can
Mhm.
imagine like just him getting his big break with on in a Marvel film or in a franchise rather. Yeah, it's really exciting stuff for him.
Oh yeah. He really reminds me of John Boyega when he was cast in The Force Awakens.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like it's a Marvel fanboy being cast in a Marvel movie. And you can so I have a feeling like once we see the movie, he's gonna be like really charismatic. He's gonna put his 110% into it.
oh for sure. And I mean the story itself too. I'm very intrigued about because they're going back to the whole Ten Rings thing with the Mandarin
Oh yeah.
terrorist organization. So that's something they touched upon in the first Iron Man, and then people say that they botched it in Iron Man 3.
Mhm.
Personally, I like that twist, but as long as we're getting the real Mandarin now, then no harm, no foul.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so overall, I'm pretty excited for Phase 4. And then we also have the Eternals, which once again, nobody knows who that is. But I'm looking forward to it. They got a really good cast for it.
Oh, for sure. And
And then and then they brought out the thing I'm most hyped for. Like no one expected this. They brought out Mahershala Ali and they announced that he's gonna play Blade.
yeah,
Oh
that
boy, yeah.
that's sick. And I guess that's not going to be a part of Phase 4. They confirmed, but listen,
Hmm.
take all the time you need to get it right, and have Wesley Snipes involved in some shape or form, I'm there day one.
Oh yeah. I'm just hoping they keep it R-rated because I don't want to see PG-13 mother truckers always trying to ice skate up a hill. Like, no, I want my hardcore F-bombs. I want my violence, my vampire movie.
Yeah, well, I would have held my breath out for that, but Marvel they surprised us a few times, so you never know.
Oh yeah, especially if they're going to keep on going with Deadpool and like I think I'm pretty sure they're going to keep Deadpool R. You can
Yeah,
also make Blade R.
yeah, I think they definitely could do an R-rated Blade. It's just a matter of trying to incorporate it into the MCU. How because we already know the MCU's light. Well, yeah, for the most part, it's lighthearted. They've gotten serious a few times,
Mm.
but you want to keep that four quadrant appeal. So we'll
Oh
see how
yeah,
they Blade. But either way, Mahershala Ali, that is a extremely big get for them.
oh yeah, and it's interesting too now because like now it's confirmed like the Marvel Netflix shows are not canon at all because they
uh,
had one of the actresses in Civil War in Luke
yeah,
Cage, and now
Alfred.
Mahershala Ali is in the movies. Like, okay, we just don't care about that anymore. Which I'm fine. I honestly think it works better for the Netflix shows that they're their own continuity.
Yeah, and I mean, it's after so many or seasons rather where we come back and it's, oh, the big green guy or the guy with the shield. It's like, guys, you're talking about the Hulk and Captain America. At least name drop them. But
Yeah.
you
And then
know,
you gotta like think about how like all the Marvel stuff, all the movies like connect to the TV show, like because Infinity War came out right before Daredevil season 3 and Punisher season 2, and even Jessica Jones, and then like half the universe is snapped, and like
yeah,
there's no way it's gonna play into the TV shows.
why not?
So it's just might as well make it its own thing.
Hmm. It's unfortunate because I actually do like a lot of those shows. But
Mm.
listen, we got the Disney Plus shows to look forward to now. So
Oh yeah.
that's that.
Okay, so from there, let's jump into the movies that have been coming out lately, because we missed so many, so many. Let's talk about what came out this weekend first. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
Now, Jalen, what are your overall thoughts on the Fast and Furious franchise?
Uh, I unashamedly love them. Uh, well, I'll say Tokyo Drift is the one I actually do not like. Everything else, yeah, I love the franchise. They're big, dumb action films, and it's like, what more can you want from it at that point? They know exactly what they are. Just go there, have stupid fun, turn your brain off.
Mhm.
I don't have an issue with them.
Yeah. I definitely don't love them as much as you do. I've seen, I think all the movies, and I've enjoyed them to various degrees. The one that definitely won me over was the latest one, the Fate of the Furious.
All right.
Because that movie was just so over the top, so ridiculous. And as soon as I saw the trailers, I knew, like, even though I wasn't a Fast and Furious fan, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna love that one. And I watched it, and I did love it. And Hobbs and Shaw were like the best part of that movie.
Right.
And so seeing them get a spin-off and like seeing how crazy the trailers were, I was like, this is gonna be something pretty good. Um, so what are your thoughts on Hobbs and Shaw?
Well, I can say that I liked it. Uh, Pretty much in line with the rest of the Fast and Furious movies.
Mhm.
It's probably on the lower tier of like the latest ones for me, but it's still I thought it was a fun time at the theater.
Oh yeah, I would agree. It didn't live up to my expectations of like being as great as Fate of the Furious.
Mm,
But for what it is, just dumb fun at the movie. There's good jokes, good decent action scenes. The chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham is
yeah,
really good. So overall, you're gonna go and you're gonna have a good time. I just wouldn't put it as high up as the other Fast and Furious movies.
yeah. I think that's I think the best thing about it, like you were saying, is just that chemistry between Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson.
Mm,
They really nail like that whole buddy comedy duo thing that they got going on. But
mm.
then it's like you're just there for the action, and they certainly deliver on that aspect. I actually, I kind of want to go see this movie in 4DX just to like spend my money on it. But all those effects coming at you with the chairs moving and everything like that's gonna be exciting to sit
Oh
through.
yeah, yeah. Um, So, quick question: have you seen the article about like the contracts the movie stars like sign in the Fast and Furious movies?
Oh yeah, right. I
How
remember.
they limit how much they're allowed to lose and how many punches they're allowed to take.
Hey, so I guess if we're speaking on that, I'm just straight up say like I think that's ridiculous. It's actually really stupid. Uh, it's really just egos, inflated egos on sets,
Mhm.
and testosterone that's just boiling up. But it's just a movie, guys. Come on, really?
Yeah, I just find it interesting because you get action franchises like the John Wick franchise or Mission Impossible,
Mm,
where these action stars are constantly like getting beat down, and yet they've made so much money. And then in the Fast and Furious ones, like they're like, no, we can't lose. It's gonna damage our image. But I don't think it's really damaged anyone's image to like get roughed up in a movie.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you already know it's like, well, they'll get beat down, but by the end of it all, they'll triumph, and they're gonna win the fight at the end, anyways. But
Hmm.
these three, and why these three referring to who was it, Vin Diesel, Statham, and The Rock.
Hmm.
Um, it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to look like a wussy on screen. It's like, all right, guys, this isn't the '60s. It's actually funny. The other movie we're gonna talk about later actually touches on this exact topic here.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
very fitting.
And it's interesting too, because like now I'm like looking back at all the Fast and Furious movies, and like you think of all the times like all these actors like got into a fight in the like into fight scenes and stuff, and
Mm,
yeah, there's never any definitive winner, you know.
exactly.
Like other movies will like aren't scared to have a definitive winner, but for this, like you look at Fatal and Furious, you have that awesome prison break scene,
Mm,
and like The Rock and Jason Statham are about to fight, it's all been blowing up to this, and then they're just like stop, like nope, no
mm.
fighting, let's move on with the story.
It, and I mean, I guess there was in Furious 7, he does like blow him up out of a window. But even
Mm.
that, it wasn't really like Jason Statham delivering the final blow. It's just The Rock rescuing his team. So yeah, again, it all just boils up to their egos and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
so, would you say you've noticed any of that in Hobbs and Shaw?
Well, truth be told, and I mean, I don't think we're gonna get too much into spoilers because it's not really any spoilers to give away. But
Hmm.
the villain of this is Idris Elba, who plays a cybergenetic super villain, which yeah, at this point they just completely jumped. I mean, they already jumped the shark, but now we're dealing with robo humans. So,
Hmm.
but anyways, they have the fight with him, and they get beat down by him as expected. But there's other dudes like Jason Statham's fighting like 10 dudes at once, and I don't think he gets hit once in
Oh
that
yeah.
entire. So, definitely, it's something I noticed like in retrospect. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess, but it's just like it's completely unnecessary.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's hard to like spoil Hobbs and Shaw when like the trailers already gave everything away. Like we all know how this is gonna end.
Mm.
It's like I'm just gonna straight out say my favorite part was when the Samoan warriors fought the cyber robot people. That was just crazy wicked. Like this is what the Fast and Furious franchise has come to. Samoan warriors fighting robots. And like they need to contrive a ways like, shut their guns down so they not all fight with like ancient Samoan weapons, and it's just awesome. It's so great.
Yeah, it's such a fun sequence too, and especially their mothers. You're gonna get one serious Samoan ass whooping. I was like, yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I saw this movie with my family and we're Puerto Rican. And
Hmm.
so when the Samoan mother is like threatening all her kids like with her slipper, like
Hmm.
that's just something that reached across cultures. Like, oh yeah, it's so relatable.
Oh yeah, because she threw her slipper from like the porch, like a couple feet.
Yeah,
uh,
so relatable.
yeah, right. But
Yeah.
yeah, good. But it's actually funny too because I wrote this in my letterbox review. But did that sequence remind you of the climax in Infinity War, that whole Wakanda battle?
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Because the whole point of this one, not going too much into it, but the whole point of them fighting these dudes, they have to hold them off while they have to protect something and someone. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, this is exactly what they had to do with the Vision. And you put it on an exotic location. It got a lot of the similar aesthetics and the same tone to it. It's like, I guess you guys are really trying to follow the Marvel formula here, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
at it. So that's good for you.
Yeah. If I'm going to like some flaws that I had with the movie, definitely like the weakest part of Hobbs and Shaw is like when it tries to be a Fast and Furious movie, and it brings up themes of family, and it doesn't work the same way it does in the actual Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, it's it's very heavy-handed very early on. I think
Hmm.
like there's one early scene about with The Rock and his daughter at a diner, and it's like, oh boy, she's we're really going hard with this family thing again, huh?
Yeah, it's so odd because like I didn't really expect a Fast and Furious movie with Hobbs and Shaw. I expected something completely different, and
Mm.
so when I start watching it, it's like family, family, family. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm watching Fast and Furious. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I think the writing. Well, I guess it's stupid to critique the writing, but usually with the other Fast and Furious movies, I think they find a good balance when they want to deal with emotional pulls and the dumb, over the top action.
Mm,
I I think it's probably mostly because it's the characters. Like we've grown attached to Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and Tyrese and whatnot. With Hobbs and Shaw, it's like, yeah, we've been with these guys for the past few movies now, but their relationship is only just developing, so I don't really care about any of their family issues that they got going on. And
yeah.
develop it all that well in here either. So I agree with that.
Mm. But overall, like Hobbs and Shaw, it's just a fun time at the movies. It's really stupid, and that's why it's so much fun.
Yep, I co-sign that. Go. So if you're tired of seeing Disney remakes champion at the box office, go see another dumb, stupid movie.
Yep. So transitioning from there, let's talk about something that you and I are definitely going to disagree on. Um, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So,
Okay.
Jalen, I'm gonna let you go first.
All right. Well, all right, so I guess with Quentin Tarantino, this is what his ninth film now.
Mm,
Uh,
maybe his last.
all right, he did say he got this or maybe one more if he does a Star Trek thing.
Mm,
Uh, so yeah, I guess this one, yeah, he goes back in time to 1969 in LA. And I have to say, I mean, you have Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. It's like, all right, well, we got a good cast here. Got Quentin Tarantino behind the camera. I don't think we could get like a subpar movie. And yeah, I was proven right. I really love this movie. And it's actually really surprising to me just because I'm someone who, with Tarantino's latest films, I would say started from Kill Bill, honestly. I haven't necessarily loved them. Like I enjoyed them, and I think it's great filmmaking all around. But there's a lot of flaws with those movies that keeps me from loving it. And with this one, yeah, without a doubt, as soon as I stepped out the theater, I was like, no, I think this is probably my favorite film from him since Jackie Brown, probably.
hmm
So I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. I enjoyed parts of this movie. There's a lot to love about it. I do agree that some of his latest films are a bit too self-indulgent. And what I really love about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is that it's Tarantino like stepping away from a lot of those indulgences. All of it's still there, like the unnecessary narration
Yeah,
and feet, lots and lots of feet.
Dirty Feet.
Yeah. Um, but overall, like this is a very different film from Tarantino, something he hasn't made since like Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown, where it's a lot less stylized. It's a lot more about like characters in the moment,
Yeah.
and I appreciated that aspect of it. But overall, my main issue with this film is that I'm not sure what it wants to be. Um, because as soon as like the first thing you heard about this movie was that it was about the Manson family and Sharon Tate and her murder. And so watching this movie, um, it, I wasn't sure whether it wanted to be a movie about like Rick Dalton and his struggles or about Sharon Tate and the Manson family because I feel like it does the Rick Dalton storyline really well. But when it comes to developing the Manson family and Sharon Tate, I just found a lot of that lackluster, and that's why it kind of fell apart for me.
Okay. Oh, that's fair. Uh, One thing I would say against that is that I think from the start, like Tarantino has pitched this movie is like the Manson murders stuff was always supposed to serve in the background of the film,
Hmm.
uh, while the his movie is really just focusing on Cliff and Rick and just them navigating through Hollywood as it's changing from old style Hollywood to the new style Hollywood. And I think having Sharon Tate in the film, uh, you have to be familiar with the history of as to what happened to her back in 1969. Uh,
Hmm.
but a lot of experts they've always said like that was the defining moment that kind of changed Hollywood forever. Uh, was when she was brutally murdered by the Manson family. And so I think having that in this film, it really just serves as just to propel what Tarantino was trying to do with her. And I kind of hate this phrase where people say, "Oh, it's a love letter to old Hollywood." It's like it's kind of cheesy when you put it that way, but essentially that's what you got here is just him really just expressing his viewpoint as to the Hollywood that he once grew up to know.
Hmm. Yeah. Like I definitely appreciate that about the movie. It's just I just find it so all over the place in terms of developing certain characters. And like I said, it does away with a lot of Tarantino's indulgences, but like a lot of what is there, just feel really does stick out like a sore thumb. Like there's like one scene where Sharon Tate's going to a party, and you see like these three characters stand right there, and their names pop up, and you think, okay, these guys will probably be important later, and then they're never mentioned again throughout the rest of the movie. Or at least I never noticed them again. And
Yeah.
then you just have this one character standing to the side, giving a bunch of exposition about Sharon Tate and her friends and stuff. It's just like, why is this here? Is this really necessary? Isn't there a better way to give this exposition than just have someone explain it all to the audience?
Well, I think that's something because Tarantino, his whole thing is he's a big cinema geek, and so he's always gonna throw in these fanboy references for like diehard cinephiles.
Mm,
So with that particular scene, the whole Playboy Mansion scene, I felt like that was kind of the one where he kind of it does feel unattached from the rest of the movie, but essentially in the scene, it's like Steve McQueen explaining the whole relationship between Sharon Tate, Roman Polanski, and I forget the other dude, but I know he was like her hairstylist or whatnot.
mm,
No, that's something that's like, yeah, it's for the diehard cinephiles, but yeah, I do agree. It's like it feels unattached, and I guess it really just serves to for what happens at the end of the movie, which I don't think we should give away yet, but it is something where it's like once that final title card comes up, it's like, oh, okay, I see how this all comes back around now. I see what you were trying to do here.
mm.
I think it did serve a purpose all the way around, but it's very
Yeah.
important in the film.
Yeah, like I don't deny it served a purpose, but I think just like the way he gave us the exposition, it was way too heavy-handed. And like I said, there probably is a better way to to give out the exposition. Probably in a way that like further develops Sharon Tate as like a character instead of this kind of shallow person in the movie. Because I honestly, she doesn't really have much of character in the movie.
Yeah,
She's more just a tool to like convey the movie's themes instead of like an actual living breathing character, and that's something that did kind of bother me about the film, just like the way it treated Sharon Tate.
yeah, I can agree with that too. But then it was something where it's like I don't know if he because she is definitely pushed and kind of shelved in this movie. I think she gets if I had to estimate like no more than 20 minutes of screen time here. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if he did it to stay respectful to her, just because she in real life she's gone. He didn't want to ruin her legacy or whatnot. But at the same time, it's kind of like, oh well, it is again. It's Rick's story, Rick and Cliff's story. She kind of just mostly serves as a foil to Rick, and it's her character. It's kind of weird to say, but she's mostly a symbolic figure in this movie than an actual character. Which I don't know how I actually feel about that, but
Hmm.
something I really do have to sit on more for me to have like my final thoughts on.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just that's kind of what bothers me the most because then it's a movie mostly about Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, and then it's just like the Sharon Tate and the Manson family stuff is thrown in there, and I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't really mix well together for me. And it's interesting too because like you get people who've never heard about the story of Sharon Tate and Charles Manson, and then they watch this movie and they're just so confused. Like they're like, "Wait, what? What's going on? Who are these people? Why are they important? Why does it end this way?" And I don't know. Maybe the movie just didn't do that great of a job of like filling us in on the details that it should have.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, but I guess for me it's because and I guess because I do know the story, so I'm not really in that what you're saying there. Like as far as the people who will feel like the third act is kind of unattached from the rest of the film.
Hmm.
Should we talk about spoilers now, or do you think we shouldn't?
So yeah, it's because it's gonna be hard to talk about a lot of the movie without going to spoilers. So this is your official spoiler warning for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Go check it out and then come right back and listen to the rest of this. And there are time codes in the description, so you can skip around it.
So yeah, spoiler mode then. So yeah, once we do get to the final act of the film, we do actually reach the point where the Manson murders is reenacted. Um, and we already knew, like going into the film, like this was gonna happen because Tarantino has spoke on it uh, in the press run that they've been doing, but we
Hmm.
didn't know exactly how he was gonna do it. And I kind of actually feel stupid because I was like, oh man, there's no way he's gonna come out showing Sharon Tate's death and her murder and her friend's murder in a classy way. But you look at the title, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, oh, this is Tarantino's fantasy. This is his fairy tale. And
Hmm.
so, he does a little revisionist history once again, similar to how he did in Inglorious Bastards. And he has Cliff Booth, Rick, and their dog kill the Manson family that's was going to murder them. And for me personally, I thought that was great. First off, the sequence itself, I thought was just over the top. It was like Tarantino just had to let himself go for that 10-minute sequence. But
Oh yeah.
I thought that was great. But then just connecting it to the rest of the movie, and once you get the title and whatnot, you kind of see what the whole movie is about. It's all right. Well, it's a story about Rick. He's struggling to find his footing in this new Hollywood. He was a big star in the old Hollywood, but we're moving from the 60s into the 70s now. There's that transitional period. And, you have someone like Sharon Tate there who at the time was, very big deal, big name actress. She kind of serves at the point where Rick wants to be. And so even to the point where you have that final shot of like the gates opening up for Rick as he finally gets that invitation into her house, it's like it's not a movie about Sharon Tate or the Manson family. It's just about Rick, Cliff, and Hollywood in general. So I
Hmm.
I, I guess I liked it more than you did for that aspect, but I definitely could see why you didn't like it.
Yeah. This is just gonna be like one of those cases where we just like agreed to disagree because for me, just like all those elements didn't really work for me all that well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe upon multiple viewings, I'll grow to appreciate it more. But I was just like really disappointed with it, but especially because there's a lot about this movie I do love.
Yeah.
Rick Dalton's character is great. I love his relationship with Cliff Booth, and I love how this is just a movie without much of a narrative. It's more about like these characters in the moment. And so
Mm-hmm.
then you get these really great scenes of like Rick Dalton on set, like he's like, trying to do his best as an actor, but he's suffering this depression. He thinks he's not as good as he was before. And I love all of that. But just like by the time I got to the end of the movie, I felt kind of empty because I feel like the movie it was just kind of all over the place.
Okay, that's fair. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm super gushing over the movie, but I guess I am. I, I
You
think
are
if
compared to me.
yeah, yeah, I would say for this summer, like I did my rankings on Letterbox. It was like a tentative ranking. They don't really mean much, but it was like my number 3 or 4 favorite movie I saw this summer.
Mhm.
Uh, but saying that, yeah, there was stuff that I did feel the same way about you did. I do feel like they kind of overextended the cameos with, Roman Polanski and Steve McQueen. They don't really add much to the movie. Um,
Mhm.
but But the thing that pissed me off the most is actually the thing I hate about Tarantino's latest films, and that's just that inconsistent narration. Like,
Oh
it
yeah.
and out of nowhere explains all these story elements, and it's like, come on, dude, this is just so sloppy and clunky. It kind of takes me out of the movie.
Yeah. It popped up in Hateful Eight, and that was a moment where you could have done it without the narration, but Quentin Tarantino just wanted to put his voice in there. And then with this, he has Kurt Russell narrate, and I feel like there's a way to edit that entire sequence where there is a narration and edit it so you can tell that story without any narration, because it does pop out of nowhere and it's absolutely unnecessary, and it's Quentin Tarantino holding the audience's hand.
I mean, shoot, in the beginning of the film, I think they handled the exposition very well, where they did a whole TV segment to sort of catch you up on Rick's life and his career. They could have
Hmm.
just another one of those, and I thought it would have been better than that. Because yeah, he did it in Hateful Eight. He does it in Inglorious Bastards, where he has Samuel Jackson coming in explaining some more exposition. Uh, I think he does it in Django also at that one point in the beginning.
I
It's
think
like,
there's just like there's a screen, there's like a frame where like there's text that explains.
yeah, like I really do not like that at all. It kind of just takes me out of the film. But
Hmm.
in that though, like the overall movie all around, it's a movie I saw it. Was it 2 weeks ago? And I'm still thinking about it today. And something we didn't really touch on either is just the filmmaking aspects of it. It's like Quentin Tarantino for, say what you want about his writing, but his filmmaking, his work behind the camera, I think it's. I don't use this word lightly, but I honestly think it's genius.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I would agree. He does so, because what he does so well is like he takes from other movies that he loves, and he finds ways to like combine them all into like one movie, and it's really well done. I really enjoyed it. So overall thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I was kind of disappointed. I'll probably watch it again in theaters, like try and see if I like it more on a second rewatch. But overall, I wish this movie just gave me more, in terms of like story and like tying everything together.
It's fair. For me, just put me on the opposite end of the spectrum. Uh, yeah, I really love the film. I am dying to see it again. Maybe we'll go see it together then, and maybe we'll
Maybe.
end up flopping. But yeah, it's definitely, and overall, I think it's just a fun movie too, all around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Let's say
Okay.
check it out.
So from there, let's talk about a movie that we both loved. The Farewell. I saw this movie yesterday with my entire family, and somehow like we're Hispanic, and somehow we still found a way to connect to it because like it touches on, despite it being like a story about like Chinese culture, it finds a way to connect to just like about American culture and like how that differs from like your home culture and stuff, which I really appreciated.
All right.
Jalen, what did you think of The Farewell?
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie as well. On my letterbox rankings, this is actually my number two, behind Endgame. Yes, I'm a fanboy for Endgame. But yeah, no, The Farewell. It's definitely an emotional story, but it's not as depressing as I thought it would be. It's actually more heartfelt, and I think most of that is because it's a movie that deals with dying and death in the family, but it just focuses on the whole idea of, well, what's life with family? Like that whole concept of, well, let's not focus on all our troubles in life now. Let's focus on the time we have with each other right here and now. And
Hmm.
stuff like that. I'm a sucker for movies or feel good movies like that. And if you manage to get me all watery eyed, then yeah, you definitely got a spot in my top five or top two rather of the year. So
Hmm.
yeah, I love this one.
Yeah, this movie, it really finds a way to connect you and like get you to like care for each one of these characters.
Mm.
Nai Nai is just so lovable.
Yeah.
She reminds me a lot of my grandmother's. She really cares for her kids, for her kids or grandkids, and she's like the perfect grandmother.
Mm.
And just like it's a really interesting story overall because apparently it is a real thing that people do in China. It's based off a true lie. where they'll tell the elders like that they're fine, you're not dying, even though you are dying.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because then you have like the main character who's from America, played by Aquafina,
Mhm.
and she's like thinking about like how the Chinese people handle this and how Americans handle this, and it's just two completely different ways of handling it. And what I really appreciate about the movie is that it doesn't condemn either American culture or Chinese culture. It rather just shows the differences between the two, and why and just like it. How do I put this? Like it finds ways to appreciate both cultures, so it's like understand both cultures, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's that one sequence at the dinner table with the whole family, and both sides bring up very compelling arguments as to which life they prefer over the other. But when you sit back and look at the bigger picture, it's like, well, no one life is perfect. It's just up to you and your lifestyle. So
Exactly.
I think the film definitely does a good job addressing that. Um,
And
Also,
something like that is, sorry to cut you off, but like something like that is universal. It's like multiple cultures,
yeah,
because like it's like you have people, you have family members living in different parts of the world, and they think, oh, the American lifestyle, it's not that great, our lifestyle is better. And then you have the relatives in America saying, oh, their lifestyle is not that great, I live in America, my lifestyle is awesome. And neither one is the best one. Like they're both flawed, but they both have their strengths too.
exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Um, I was gonna say because the director Lulu Wang, like you were saying, this is based on her life experiences and what she's had to go through with her family. And so you could definitely feel like it's definitely a personal conversation for her to have explored on film. And
Hmm.
I always love stuff like I always said like you know big blockbusters and studio films to have fun. I think of course people love movies for the entertainment values, but also at the same time when you can make something so personal and deep to you, then I think that's gonna stick in my mind a lot longer than a lot of other films. And yeah, I think this one definitely strives. I think it's worthy of like Oscar nominations
Oh
in a
yeah.
categories.
Yeah. I want to see the actress who played Nine Eye. I want to see her get a Best Supporting Actress nom. And Awkwafina, he was one of my favorite performances of the year. And it's like nothing that you think is Oscar worthy. Like there's no big moment where she just like cries or like yells at the camera. Like all the performances, all the writing, it's just really subtle.
Yeah,
And it really works for the movie at hand.
yeah, no, I was gonna say that. I just love like how not over the top because they could have gone really dramatic and really cheesy, especially when you're dealing with a topic like this with cancer
Hmm.
being a lot of quote unquote Oscar bait films that tend to overextend themselves with that.
Hmm.
This one, yeah, like you were saying, there's no real big scene. Well, there's one scene where she does explode, but I didn't felt like it was over the top. Like it felt justified that she would blow up in that specific moment. And then for the rest of it, yeah, it's a lot of subtle acting, a lot of nuance to it that you got to really appreciate Aquafina. And I wish I remembered the actress's name who plays Nine Eye, but yeah, she was definitely amazing in this too.
Oh yeah. And just like the comedy itself too, like it's another one. Like it's not a gut buster, but like it's really subtle. And, like you're gonna get a couple laughs from it.
Oh yeah,
Even my younger siblings, I went to go see it with them, and they got like a lot of really good laughs from the movie. So yeah, so overall, The Farewell, it's one of the best movies come out this year. I highly recommend it.
and co-sign that. It's amazing. Go support good cinema, please.
Yes. From there, let's jump into what we saw this week. So we haven't recorded for the past 2 weeks, and so we've probably got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Jalen, I'm gonna let you go first. What have you seen this week?
Well, just actually yesterday I just finished Amazon Prime's new series, The Boys.
Oh, I was gonna talk about that too, because I've seen
Oh,
the first 3 episodes.
okay. So yeah, I guess we talk about it together. Um, yeah, I thought it was great. I didn't have a lot of high expectations for it going in, just because the concept to me it seemed like it's. I felt like they kind of I feel like I've used this word a lot, but I feel like they're gonna overextend themselves with this series, where they try to juggle too much at once. Uh,
Mhm.
but then once you get like I'd say halfway, well, not even like 5 minutes into the first episode, I was like, oh my god, yeah, you guys are nailing this so far. And it's just that consistent tone and the conversations and the different elements that all comes into this show. It carries on for the next 8 episodes, and yeah, they nail it. I thought this series was great.
Oh yeah. It's another take on the what if superheroes were in the real world, like Watchmen, or just like all these other stories, like The Dark Knight Returns. And it's definitely one of the most interesting ones because it's probably the most accurate one, where it's like superheroes just get exploited by capitalism.
Hmm.
And it's just like it's such an interesting thing to explore. Because you have like all these like people on the lower level, and they get affected by superhero collateral damage every single day, and no one wants to talk about it because the corporations find a way to like silence it all, and they continue to make their money,
Hmm.
and that's what happens in the show. And I just found that exploration of capitalism, and I just found that really interesting, especially when you get to like Homelander, who's this world Superman. I found his character really despicable, but also like really interesting to explore.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you said you're on episode 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he no spoilers, but you think he's despicable now? Just oof.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's also my favorite character in this series. So uh, just because what they do with him, and just what they do with all the heroes, like they're able to bring him on a grounded level, and it's like, well, what if Captain America and Superman actually existed in our real day to day lives, and they were getting money and clout off of being, these larger than life heroes? And it's an allegory as to how we, no, not even an allegory, it's kind of hits you over the head with it, but just how we view we're in the superhero culture ourselves right now, and how we view them. And just also you could even look to how influencers are treated on the internet and social media.
Hmm.
Everything's for the likes, everything, we got to push this merch, we got to sell to everybody. And to bring that into the concept of this show here and do it with superheroes, it, I don't know what I was thinking, saying that they might have bit off two more than they can chew, but yeah, like I said, they've nailed it with this season.
Yeah. Definitely my favorite character has been Starlight, the new addition to the Seven. I just find her like trying to traverse through this world really interesting because like she has like one idea of like what these superheroes are like, and that just gets shattered within her first 5 minutes of being on the team.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that was rough.
yeah, that was very rough. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that gets explored throughout the rest of the season. You said there's 8 episodes, so that means I have like 5 more episodes left. So I'm looking forward to finishing those last five.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like they're quick watches too. I mean, each episode's about like 50 minutes to an hour long.
Mm.
Uh, but I felt like they go by fast because I actually started it. I want to say Saturday morning, or maybe it was Friday night, and then I finished it yesterday night, and I was
Mm.
gonna do that. So it's definitely an enjoyable watch, I thought. So I'd recommend for people to watch it.
Awesome. So from there, I'll talk about what I've seen. Right after we recorded our last episode, like the day after, me and my grandfather went to go see The Art of Self-Defense.
Oh.
And just one of the most interesting theater experiences is when Sensei goes, "Real men listen to metal." And then my grandfather turns his head, stares directly at me. I'm like, listen, I'm nothing like that guy. I love this movie. I love The Art of Self-Defense. The dry wet humor is just so great. It's so quotable. Um, you must learn to punch with your feet and kick with your fist. Like if this movie was a lot bigger in the box office, you'd see people quoting this for a while. This movie is just so quotable. Jesse Eisenberg gives a great performance in this. He's just a really talented actor. I really enjoy his acting. Except for when he was playing the Riddler in Batman v Superman. Do you want a Jolly Rancher?
That was awful. Please don't bring that back up.
But he was great in this movie. A lot his delivery is really great. Like you said, like he starts like acting like a tough guy halfway through the movie, but it's like the same wimpy delivery that Jesse Eisenberg gets like within the first act, and it's so great. Just like and the way it touches on toxic masculinity is like really well done, really refreshing. This is like a modern day Fight Club, just a lot just like very different in tone, like a lot more drier humor.
Right.
And especially, I love the ending so much. Especially Casey's final monologue to his sensei. That was just like it really touched well on the themes of the movie, and I really appreciated that. One complaint that I remember you had was that you thought the female character wasn't all that developed. Um, I would have to disagree with you on that. I thought she was a very well developed character, and I really liked the relationship she had with Casey. I like how it touched about like how toxic men like tend to view women and how they think they can never be enough, and I really appreciated that.
I remember I was saying that yeah, she wasn't all that well developed when I reviewed it.
Mm,
Uh, and what was that 2 weeks ago? Uh, and I still do still kind of feel the same about that. But the more I was thinking about it, I actually kind of think that it might have been purposeful. Just because, like you were saying, the whole theme of this movie is dealing with toxic masculinity. So it might have been purposeful for I think the director's name is Riley Stearns, who also wrote the movie. Just to kind of push her in the background rather than developing her fully. But that's just what I interpreted from the film. But
mm.
overall, I thought it was great. Also,
Yeah, this is gonna go down like I think right now it's in my top five of the year,
yeah.
and I imagine it'll stay there. Um, so yeah. So Jalen, what else have you seen this week?
It was actually funny that you mentioned Fight Club because I actually went on a David Fincher marathon this past weekend, uh, and I watched Fight Club. But I want to talk about Seven uh, because I actually haven't seen Seven in a very long time, like since high school.
Hmm.
And I remember at the time where I was just like, "Oh, this is what everybody was hyping up so much." Um, and I think it's because like the final twist got ruined for me just in pop culture life.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but now that I'm seeing it again with a more critical eye, it's like I would say like I've learned more about films since the last time I saw it and grew a new appreciation for it. And I think this movie is freaking incredible, man. My goodness. It's dark. It definitely sets its mood and its tone straight away. The atmosphere and just the colors on film definitely conveys the mood for the film all the way through. Uh, and then, of course, you have just these brilliant performances from Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Kevin Spacey comes in late in the film, and uh, just wow! Like I just saw it last night, and I'm just still gushing about the movie today.
Hmm.
Um, just the overall like the motives of the serial killers' killings, where he stylized each of his killings after the seven deadly sins. Like, come on, that's really creative. Now, I mean, you know, I condemn serial killing. Don't do that. But if you had to do it, I think that's actually a really creative way to, and it made for a very entertaining film.
Hmm.
And then once you get to that final climax of the film, your heart's pounding, it's getting very tense, it's ratcheting up, and then you get that final blow. It's like, sheesh. And Kevin Spacey, I would say he was the Joker before the Joker came out in this film, as far as having a movie villain actually win at the end of it all.
Hmm.
Uh, at least just his whole concept and ideology win at the end of it all. It's very psychological and very messed up. It's actually kind of cynical. Uh, I think I kind of like that, but overall, I have it on my iTunes library. I'm probably going to watch it again as soon as we finish recording. But yeah, I found a new appreciation for the movie Seven. So,
Oh
well,
yeah. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I do remember like when I first saw it, like I really loved it. Just like one of the things like you take away is like the atmosphere of the film,
mhm.
and just like the city in general. It's like a dirty, grimy city, It's like it never stops raining throughout the entire movie, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just like and the other thing interesting thing about the movie is that the city has no name. It's something that technically doesn't really take place in this world. It's like a fictional world where everything's dark and grimy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just really more about exploring like morality through these characters, and what it means like to be good or bad, and like can anyone be corrupted.
Right.
um and it has like one of the greatest endings in movies ever, probably. What's in
Mm.
the box? Everybody quotes that. No, if you go to get a box, you're gonna have someone shout out, "What's in the box?" I know I do. I'm that annoying person.
uh, never worked for USPS.
um, but yeah, it's all around classic, and it's interesting too because this movie was David Fincher's second movie after Alien 3,
Yeah.
which I've never seen and I have no intention of seeing. But like Alien 3 changed his whole mindset on like types of movies he wants to make, and ever since then he's been making movies like Seven, where it's like it's smaller thrillers or like dramas and stuff. And he works really well with them.
Yeah. The last one he did was Gone Girl, right?
Yeah, and he was supposed to do World War Z, the sequel. But I'm assuming that went the same way as Alien 3, and he said, "Nope, I'm not doing this."
Yeah, that's been in development hell for a while now. Like
Oh
five.
yeah, I don't think anyone even cares anymore. You
Yeah.
know, barely anyone cared about like the first movie. So
It just came out with a game for it, and I didn't hear anything about the sales for it. So
yeah, I didn't.
that's
I remember hearing whispers of the game, but I didn't know it came out recently.
yeah, but nobody cares. It just goes to show.
Yeah, that's just something they should just drop it now. So I've seen High Life, the Robert Pattinson movie where he's in space and he has a baby.
Okay.
Um, and I don't like this movie's weird, man. Um, it's definitely something where it's hard to judge on your first viewing. It's kind of like, like watching like 2001 or a David Lynch movie, where you watch it the first time and you just don't get it. And like you're not expected to get it on your first viewing. Um, but it's something that's going to take multiple viewings, or it's like understand like what it's going for, some of its themes, because I couldn't tell you what this movie's about in terms of theme. I can tell you what happens. There's a man and then there's a baby and he's a prisoner, and it gets very erotic.
Mm.
But I couldn't tell you like the themes of the movie. But what I will say is like all around the performances are great. um like Robert Pattinson, our future Batman, um he gives a really great performance. Like he really is like doing a great job moving away from his Twilight years, where he was terrible in those Twilight movies. But he's like gotten a lot better, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in Tenet, and Batman. So yeah, his performance is great. And I'd say the movie does a really good job at developing his relationship with his daughter. You only really see it within like the first act and the third act, and like the rest of the movie, it's like a flashback to what happened beforehand. But what is there is like really well done, and it just shows like the struggle of having a parent, of being a parent in space. You know, like
Right.
Elton John said, it's hard to raise kids in Mars. It's cold as hell. So yeah,
Well,
that was really well done. Um, but yeah, High Life. I'm probably gonna watch it one or two more times, like try and get a better grasp on it. But on a first time viewing, it's a really well made but confusing movie.
do you happen to know the director's name for this? Or
I
no?
think her name is Claire Denis. She's a famous French director who I haven't heard a lot about.
Mm.
Um, but like this is like her first American movie, her first movie in English.
Okay. And is it because I actually haven't seen the movie myself, but is this a art house film, like a slow paced art house film, or is it a
Very much so.
okay?
Yeah, don't go in expecting like Moon or something.
Yeah.
Moon was what I expected. I expected something like Moon.
Yeah.
No, this is very much like a more like 2001.
Okay. Interested in checking it out. I know Robert Patterson. He actually him and William Dafoe's in that Lighthouse movie later this year.
Oh, that looks so great.
Yeah, I'm
That
excited.
movie, it looks so bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're saying, the man trapped in space. I'm a sucker for those type of movies where it's like characters contained into one setting, um, to give like a claustrophobic feel. Uh, the Lighthouse is actually, what came to my mind when you were talking about this. So I'll probably check it out.
Mm. Yeah. Just like that Lighthouse trailer, it looks so great. Well, you got Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, and it looks like something that would have came out in like the 30s or 40s. Just like,
Yeah,
maybe just like a bit less constraints in terms of like violence and like what's allowed to like be shown in movies and stuff.
yeah,
But overall, it looks weird. It looks old. It looks awesome.
yeah. I mean, A24, they've had a hell of a year well, shoot, just this summer alone, between
Hmm.
The Farewell, Last Black Man and Stand in San Francisco, and Midsummer. So I'd
Yeah.
be high pressed if the movie from the guy who made The Witch is their worst film this year.
Excuse me, it's the Viva Itch.
I'm sorry. Gotta pronunciate that.
Yeah, just like seven is 7N.
And Four Stick.
Yeah. Biggest missed opportunity is Transformers for Age of
All
Extinction.
right.
It fits right in. No one took advantage. It's not like anybody cared. It's gonna make $1 billion anyway.
Right. They dropped the ball on everything with that movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I guess right there is where the podcast is gonna end for this week. Jalen, where can people find you on social media?
yeah, you could find me on Reddit or Letterboxd at jmike127. Just follow all the stupid stuff that I write about.
Yeah. Um, you can follow me on Letterbox. Just look at my name, Alexander Zepeda, Zepeda. And then follow me on Twitter, Jedi Master Alex. Follow us on Instagram, the Film School Snobs, and email us at thefilmschoolsnobs@gmail.com. Ask us any questions or if you have any comments on anything we said or anything. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Later.